Well, Ontario's McMaster University is waiving tuition fees for a limited number of current or former foster children. The school is making room for up to 20 students who want to pursue a degree. McMaster accepting applications regardless of the age of would-be students. The program operating in conjunction with Canada's Child Welfare Political Action Committee. Current and former foster children, they say, are some of the most vulnerable in the society. Foster kids are typically evicted from care at age 18 and face a number of challenges as they enter adulthood. And joining me now is someone who knows firsthand about some of those challenges. Jane Kovarikova is the founder of the Child Welfare Political Action Committee, and she is in Barrie, Ontario. Hi there. Thanks so much for being with us here on Canada Tonight.
Thank you for having me on.
So you grew up in foster care and began living on your own at 16, so you understand some of the barriers that foster children face as they navigate into adulthood. What are some of those unique challenges?
Well, I think it's worth understanding what the situation is like for a lot of foster children. They enter care because they've experienced some form of abuse and/or neglect. They move homes multiple times. Every single time they move home, they are 4 to 6 months behind academically. Some 60% of foster children actually end up dropping out of high school. I did as well. I was lucky because I found my way back through community college as a mature student, and now I'm a doctoral candidate at Western.
Right, and so you mentioned some of the numbers. We do have some stats as well. 44%, according to Canada, to Statistics Canada, if children in foster care graduate from high school, compared to 81% of their peers. And one study from BC found that youth who were never in care were 20 times more likely to enroll in post-secondary education. So, what would it mean for foster kids to have access to a program like this?
It completely changes their lives. I was really lucky because my biological grandfather stepped forward and he bridged that gap. He paid my undergraduate tuition, and it meant a world of difference for me personally. And I don't think we should be leaving it to luck. I think it needs to be a policy where the pathway to post-secondary is as smooth as it possibly can be. And I'm so proud of McMaster for taking the step and doing that. They're actually the 8th to come on board.
Yeah, I mean, and to that point, this is one school of a couple of schools that are allowing a couple of students in and waiving tuition fees. Is this something that you would like to see across the board, and not just dealing with the fees, because financial is just one part of it?
Yeah, financial is one part, but it is a big part. The other innovation with this policy, though, is that there's no age restrictions. It recognizes the fact that after foster care, you're set up for a really rough early adult life. You enter poverty, you might experience criminal justice system involvement, early pregnancy, homelessness, all sorts of things. It might take a minute to get your life straight. So if you really care about social mobility for this really underrepresented group, you can't have the age limits. And that's something that these schools that we're trying to negotiate to get on board are really recognizing and taking seriously.
Yeah, I have to wonder as well, because as I said, financial is just one part, but even just applying to university and navigating that. I know as someone who was one of the first in my family to apply for university, not having anyone to sort of guide you through that process, selection process, OSAP, or looking for student loans. Do you think that there should be more and different types of supports outside of just education?
Yes, absolutely. And we share that in common. I'm also first generation in that sense as well. And certainly when I was applying for OSAP in school, it asks you things like, who are your parents? And as a foster child, you don't even know what to put down. And the next line is, if you misrepresent the facts, then you're in some kind of breach, right? So it's a lot of pressure, and it's a barrier onto itself. So what a lot of the schools are doing, whom we're discussing with, is they're actually allocating a personnel that will work with each prospective student directly and make sure they maximize all the resources that they have access to as individuals. So for example, OSAP grants, maybe some scholarships, bursaries, help with applications, all sorts of services they might require to be successful on that path. And then if there's anything outstanding, especially monetarily, the universities and colleges we have on board are picking it up.
And talking about wider policies, I understand that there are some policies that you're fighting when it comes to privacy and in terms of your background and folks accessing that information for former foster children. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, of course. So another area of advocacy that makes sure we have brighter futures after care is looking at our privacy rights. Right now, foster children have less privacy rights than juvenile offenders in Canada. Our files have very intimate details about our childhoods, and they remain accessible to every employee in the child welfare sector for the rest of our lives. It varies a bit province by province, but in Ontario, it's an electronic record, so it's hundreds of thousands of people can access our files. This should not necessarily be a problem. However, it is when it comes to things like us bidding to adopt or seeking employment in child welfare or perhaps divorce court. So we have created legislation, Bill 32 with MPP Bob Bailey, passed first reading on December 3rd, I'm proud to say. It will set a landmark. It's landmark legislation for the country because across the board we have the same issues.
All right, Jane Kovarikova is the founder of the Child Welfare Political Action Committee. She's in Barrie, Ontario. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.